That's what's up.
Yeah,
Thanks.
working.
What you say? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm just preparing myself for next week. So,
Oh, sweet. Preparing yourself for next week. What's happening
how are
next
you?
week?
Oh, so I put content out online.
Yep.
So I always prepare it on Saturdays
Ah,
for the following week, so that I don't have to do it daily. So I can do other things.
right.
Yeah.
So you're gearing up. What do you have coming down the pike this week? As far as your content, like, you know, yeah, what kind of stuff do you have coming down the pike?
It's just so on my Instagram, it's just like quotes and things to uplift people.
Right.
Just to remind people that they're human, just to remind people to pause and relax, just to remind people to take their time on their own journey,
right.
Not worry about other people's journey.
Right.
But I saw the title of the room because I saw this quote. I read this quote last year that like stuck to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, "Would you rather be at peace with yourself and at war with the world, or at peace with the world and at war with yourself?"
Would you rather be at peace with yourself or at war with the world?
Yeah. Or at peace with the world and at war with yourself.
Or at peace with the world and at war with yourself.
A lot of people are at peace with the world and at war with themselves because we try to fit in and conform to how we think we're supposed to be.
Right.
But when I read that quote, I was like, that's powerful because it just reminds me, like, every time I'm in a situation where I want to say no, but I feel bad for saying no. Or if I'm in a situation where I feel like I have to appease people, I remember that it's about being at peace with myself first.
Yes.
I'll be at peace with myself and war with everyone else, rather than being at peace with everyone and at war with myself. So, yeah.
Let me tell you, you dropping gems, as they say, already. Let me see something. I'm so glad to see you. Let me see something. I'm actually I'm gonna disconnect my Bluetooth speaker and I'm gonna change back over. See if I can get your voice louder. I'm trying this new Bluetooth system out that I have, and it's a speaker where I can hear your voice coming through, but it's kind of faint. And so
is it me? So I need to come closer.
Oh, that's a little better.
Might need that.
Right.
I was a bit far away.
I also think it's this speaker too. I got a Sony this cool Sony speaker actually. It's got a nice sound, and but it has a little microphone on it, but it wasn't like made so much for that purpose. So let's see. But anywho, at any rate, I really, really appreciate what you're saying, because that decision of whether you're going to be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or vice versa, it hits me deeply, because every single day, every moment of my life, every single moment, I strive to be myself unapologetically. But knowing that journey and knowing what that journey is like for other people, I recognize that that's not something that comes so easily to everyone, especially when we're in a world filled with judgment, filled with, all kinds of opinions that may go against you, your very nature, and who you want to be or who you strive to be. And it may stifle you to the point where you find yourself always putting that equation in the direction of being at peace with the world and at war with yourself. And I'm so on the side of helping people to reverse that and to be at peace with themselves, because the one thing that I realize in my own walk is that the more I'm at peace with myself, the world around me will mold to that. And then the world, yeah. And then the other thing is interesting. I even want to say that a little bit differently. It's almost like instead of the world molding around me, it's like we actually mold a world with that perspective. Like it,
Agree.
you know what I mean? It's literally everything we understand and talk about when it comes to, manifesting and creating your reality and these kind of things. You literally make the world, because then what happens is the people that are in your like-mindedness and your tribe and these kind of things, they become the people that surround you, and then the people
Yeah.
that aren't become farther away from you. The resources that you need become closer to you, and the things you don't need are away from you. The environments that you need to be in, you wind up being in, and the environments that you don't need to be in, you wind up not being in. Like, wow, you really, that just opened up like a whole portal for me, because again, that's something that I think about and I live every day. Um, and hearing it phrased in different ways like that really take it to another level for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well is that and like I said, it's a conversation that can branch up into so many different directions.
Right.
But I feel as though for me, I used to really have a hard time saying no to people. Like to say no,
right.
And I think that's because a lot of the time, no is attached with a negative connotation, so we see it negatively.
Mm-hmm.
We look at no as, you're being bad or you're being horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be seen in that way. So then you're more likely to say yes.
Right.
But then when I realized that saying no allows my cup to be full, because sometimes saying yes to things,
right,
because I want to do it, but I know I can't do it, but I'm still saying yes, whereas leaving myself drained. And it's like, people are not going to care about you if you don't care about yourself. That phrase of you teach people how to treat you is true, because people don't always intentionally mean to take from you or treat you bad, but because you allow it, they're not going to be second thinking for you, thinking,
right,
is she able to do it? Do you know what I mean?
Right,
so when I realized that you have to teach people how to treat you you're doing that by what you allow, includes saying no, and that's also a part of self-love as well. Self-love is also about saying no. So when I realized that, I was like, I'd rather be at peace with myself, because everything flows from peace.
Right.
Flows from peace. Everything flows from peace. You have to be peace to think logically, to make the right decision. If you're not operating from a place of peace, then you're operating on the flip side of a place of chaos.
Right.
So you have to find your peace. It's important.
It is so important to find your peace. And like what you're saying, which is like, I'm telling you, echoes my sentiments so deeply. I found that the deepest way to peace is accepting myself and letting the chips fall where they may from there. It's one of those things where it's like, we were talking about it yesterday here in the on the AP morning show. It was just like, I was saying that, people only take you as seriously as you take yourself. And then the other, piece to that equation is like, when you give yourself what you need, then you actually wind up giving yourself 110% that allows you to be amazing for the rest of the world, and for the people that you're supposed to be amazing for, and for the situations and scenarios that you're supposed to be. And then when you allow the serendipity and the intention of that to make everything else fall away that doesn't align with that, like it's no more in your sphere, it's no more in your reality, like it just calmly falls away. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day, and it was about a scenario of having to deal with like some unhealthy toxicity from an ex, and one that she has to be in connection to, just because of even something like kids, and so in that, I was telling her that this situation, I feel just fading away, and she was like, that's so true, like I really do agree, that's how I feel too. And the point in that was, it was fading away because of her consistent actions to take care of herself, to not allow herself to be dragged down by this situation, and not giving it power, or not allowing it to have power over her life, and continuing to stay focused on that particular movement forward. And because she's been so consistent, it is fading and fading and fading and fading farther and farther away from her reality. And the things that are what she desires are actually becoming more and more just present. They are her reality. One of the mantras that I came up with to even help with reminding herself was for her to remember that she was safe. I am safe. I am secure. I am supported. No, I'm sorry. I am safe. I am secure. I am surrounded by love. And that was actually her reality. So repeating this allowed her to remember what her reality was, so that way she didn't get lost in what it wasn't, thereby creating more of that reality because of being able to stay in that same headspace. So Tani, I just can relate from so many different angles. Like, I'm high-fiving all over this with what you shared here and what you're saying, because it really does go deep. It really is that. The more you care for yourself, first of all, the better you'll be for everyone else. Second of all, the more you allow everything else for the chips to fall where they may, just like they're supposed to.
Yeah. And I think Oprah says it best. She says, saying no is not selfish, it's self-full.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought that is so true, because if your cup is not full, then how are you gonna pour out of it?
Right.
And a lot of the time we're pouring out of a dry cup because we want to give, we want to be there, but the cup's dry. So saying no, when she said that, I thought that's so true.
Right.
Like saying no, like I said, because no has a negativity attached around it, and I think that's from childhood, because when you're growing up and you do something, your parents will be like, no, don't touch that, no, don't do that.
Right.
So no has always been associated with being negative, which is why a lot of people find it hard to say no. But no is a part of self-love. If you can't do something, then you just can't do it.
Exactly.
And if you need to say no, it's not selfish, it's actually self-full. You have to pour into yourself first, so you can be the best person you can be to help the people who you need to help.
Yes.
I remember my dad said to me, he said, it's important to make sure you take a break out and take time for yourself, because if you're tired and run down and stressed, then what good are you for the people who need your help?
That's it.
So even if you do find it hard to say no, look at it from that way. You have to give into yourself and make sure that you are the best you can be in whatever situation you are in, so that you can help. But when you can't do it, it's okay to say no.
When oh my goodness, the more you accept that, it's so cool, because every time you accept it at another level, the result is that you realize things wind up working out in the way that you desire to work out. And honestly, it makes everything better. You're happy. The people that you're supposed to be in connection with, and the environments and where you're supposed to be in life, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or what have you, you're there. And then everything else that's not supposed to be a part of reality, from the perspective of like, it doesn't serve you, it doesn't benefit you, it's just not helpful to you, it winds up not being a part of your reality, And so that's why it's like, at this point, when it comes to this message we're talking about, Tani, I wake up every day with the realization of this, knowing this, repeating this in many different ways, creating experiences, particularly so that I can inject the lesson into it of learning this again and again and again in all different aspects of life. What we are saying right here is like literally, by all means, like in lockstep the story of my life at this point. Like, it's literally my day-to-day experience. And it's like to the point now where I never second guess it. So when it's wild, because once you have that and you stop second guessing it, and that's just your reality, that's just what you know, everything starts accelerating from there.
Yeah.
That's the part. That part, as they say, that part.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, like, I've watched my life in the last year and a half just accelerate because of giving myself what I need, being unapologetic about it, not giving a fuck, like I always say, not giving a fuck about what other, not giving a fuck about other people's opinion is a real liberating feeling, especially when at the same time you have enough balance. I'm sorry, especially when at the same time you're mature enough to take constructive criticism. Balance is the name of the game. Balance is key. That's the whole thing. And the more I've like known that, lived it, said it in different ways, known it, live it, the more like everything as far as my life, what I desire, it starts accelerating. I started getting there and moving towards my goal. And I'm like, but it's so interesting because right on the flip side of that, when you don't know that, your world is completely opposite. And it's wild, Tani, because the fact that all this literally comes down to a matter of perspective, like literally what lens you're looking through, what glasses you have on. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. And so that's why, yeah.
You said a very crucial word that I always use in my life: perspective. And I think my dad, he used to speak to us a lot about perspective, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so understanding and compassionate of people, even people who have opposing opinions, religious beliefs, political beliefs, right? Because we're all looking at things based on the environment we're brought up in, based on the environment we are in. So even situations outside of me, I can even go like deep into it in regards to just having conversations on even like racism. I'm always still able to see and have understanding of someone who doesn't look like me because they didn't grow up in the same environment. They don't. So our perspectives and our environment shapes us. It has a lot to do with how we view the world. It's just like, for example, if we see an elephant, you look at the elephant from the back, and me look at the elephant from the front. Right. We're gonna have different perspectives. Right. None of those perspectives are wrong. It's just the way you're looking at it. So perspective is so crucial because you gain understanding. You're able to have compassion. You're able to forgive because we're all looking at things from a different perspective, and I think that's so important. And it also helps us to grow because I love learning. This is why I love speaking to people who's from different backgrounds to me, different walks of society, different people, because it's good to hear people's viewpoints.
It really
how
is.
People view the world. Yeah, it really is. It's because it aids you in growth. It's amazing.
Right. I thank you for that, Tani. It's like it's the only way for you to. First of all, it's my favorite way of educating myself. My favorite way of educating myself is literally talking with people or listening to people talk, listening to them tell their stories, listening to them to tell their perspectives. Because what it does is it gives me all the information needed, like whether it's I'm trying to learn something about a subject or about somebody. And then here's the kicker. This is the thing that I like. So I'm an empath, and I always say that's actually the key to empathy. It's actually being able to hear other perspectives that are various and different from your own, because you don't know, if you aren't in that experience, you don't know really what that's like, or you don't know what you don't know, even if it's just education or information. So hearing other perspectives gives you that place of connection. It gives you that point to be like, wow, I can understand what that's like. Because before this, I didn't understand that. But now that they've said that, wow, that's happened to me before. Or I got a cousin that deals with that. Or wow, that's my hometown. So wow. And then I always say, if empathy is going to take place, that's the point right there. That's literally the magical point, because that's the place where the connection is made, where a person can relate to another person. And then from there, everything can grow from there. So Tani, that's the reason why I'm able to do this. And like you said, I look at other people and I see me and I see empathy, because I'm like, this person they're a product of their environment. This is what they went through that shaped this perspective. So I really can't blame them so much for this behavior right here, or this perspective,
Yeah, and I think having that outlook, it allows you not, so for me, hatred doesn't live within me. Hatred will never live within me, because I might not agree with someone. However, I can still have a certain level of understanding as to why they think that way.
Right.
So
Exactly.
In terms of, like I said, even in terms of like racism, I completely don't agree with it, but I can have an understanding, because if you was in a house of a baby and you was taught that, and your environment is shaped that way, I can understand why you think that way. I'm not saying how you think is right, but I can understand how you think that way. So then I can't hate you. I won't have hatred in my heart for you. I disagree with you, but I kind of understand how you got to that
Let
way.
me tell you. So let me tell you. You're speaking the story of my life. This is the thing, Tiny. This is so interesting. I love this. Let me say, serendipity plus intention equals life. So I'm a secular humanist and I'm an atheist. I was a Christian for 29 years of my life. I'm the type of person where you would never, ever, 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 ever see bashing someone else, or discounting them, or dismissing them, or discrediting what they believe and how they feel, like ever, 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 because of exactly what you just said there. It's literally because of the fact that I understand so much that it allows me to have a place of acceptance and understanding. You know what I mean? As opposed to the other side of the coin. I don't even have to go down a rabbit hole, but you already know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That right there. That's why that's so powerful to me on all levels, because when you apply that to every level of life, I mean, it changes everything. I mean, it literally changes everything. It's so deep. It really does. If you could, Tani, first of all, again, it's so nice to speak to you. I so enjoy, as you can see, just having a good conversation. I always say, I consider myself a professional listener, a caring conversationalist, and an evocative communicator. And so all I care about is listening, talking. It's been me since I was 15 years old. I was telling the room the other day, when we were chopping it up. And so, I just say that to say it's really good to talk to you and to chop it up about this kind of stuff. If you could, especially if you get at some point, could you actually put these quotes that you're saying on my Instagram post? I'm actually, what I usually do for this, and I don't know if you've heard it before. Let's see, we could do the second one. What I usually do is I'll put up a quote, one of my original quotes, and then I'll have everyone to drop their gem on, like, under that in the comments, so we can, be able to keep all of the quotes that we said and read them, and have them at our fingertips. Okay, so I have one there now that's called. It says sometimes just hearing a person's voice makes all the difference in the world. If you're able to drop it under that one, that would be. Yeah, I'll do that. Sweet, that'd be cool. I'll do that now. So I'm gonna give you. I'm going to actually throw a few more at you. I'm gonna read a few more of my original quotes and see what you think. Let's see, where are we? Okay, so let's see. Do I want to join? No. Oh, I forgot. I do need to join. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. I hope that your Saturday is going well so far too. By the way.
It is. It's been a productive one. It was my birthday yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
OMG, that's so cool. Wow, did you have a good one?
Yeah, it was really good. Really good. Really good. Spent time family, so it was good.
Oh man, that's so cool. So cool.
Right, but what other quotes? Oh, I'm gonna leave the quote about being at peace with yourself on your Instagram now before I forget.
Okay.
Now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so here's a few I wrote, and this is from my my quote series. I have an account on Medium. I'm not sure if you're on Medium, but Medium is an app, and it's just for writers where we store our writings or what have you. So let's see. Be true. Be confident. Be unique. Be you. Here's another one. Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Make a move, learn from it, and rinse and repeat. An activity can be either healthy therapy or unhealthy escapism. What ultimately determines which one it is the person's mindset and state of mental health leading to the activity.
I like that one. That actually triggers something in my mind. So you know when people say like there's something happening in your life and they say, oh, keep busy, just keep busy right. Doing something.
Right.
I'm always a bit aware of that because it depends what you're keeping busy doing.
Right.
And some people will preoccupy their time with things that are not going to help them. It's like, for example, if someone's in a relationship and they break up with someone,
right,
they think to get over that person is to date somebody else to distract their mind.
Right.
But then you just end up hurting yourself because you haven't healed, and then you bring that in another relationship. Or people might use going out clubbing or, smoking or whatever to distract themselves what they're going through, to keep busy.
Right.
So I like when you said, read that quote again.
Yeah, no problem. It's an activity can be either healthy therapy or unhealthy escapism. What ultimately determines which one it is the person's mindset and state of mental health leading to the activity. Like almost like where there is exactly what you're saying, because what I realize is like I vape, right? So it's one of those things where you could just be coming from a place of like, my experience is great. This is something I just partake in like any other kind of fun pleasure, it's like any other kind of thing. And it just is what adds the sweetness into my life. These are the things together along with other things like self-care and like exercise and like, blah, blah, blah. So you could have that, or I could be like stressed as fuck and do the same thing. And it might be coming from a place more so of like, I can't take my life. And this is, you know what I mean? And so I think about that so much. And whether it be something like that, what I'm saying there about that activity, or anything else that is just a part of like, why did I do that? Or why do I want to do this? And that could be from like, why do I want to go over this person's house to why do I want to buy this new phone? Like, where is my headspace leading to this? And then you have the little fun game of who's going to be honest today? Like, am I going to then be honest with myself and say like, okay, this is why I'm doing this? Or am I going to be dishonest with myself to convince myself. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be dishonest in order to try to convince myself, to allow myself to do something that I know really, actually, if I'm honest with myself, is something else, but I don't want to see that. And so it's so, and then once again, back to perspective again, it's just so interesting. And I think about that because I'm so fascinated with psychology. So that's why, I'm like, yep, it's what's in the state of mind leading to the activity.
Yeah, like that. See, like that.
Thank you. Let's see. I got another one that's like, how to become the wisest person you can be. Listen twice as much as you talk. Then, before you talk, listen one more time.
That is another one. Because I read a quote where they said that most people listen to respond rather than listen to understand. And that's why you can have a conversation with someone and they will pick up on one thing and hold on to it, even after you said everything else.
Right.
They pick up because they're just listening. So whilst they heard that one line, they're just listening to respond, not even listening to understand. And most people do that. It's why someone can sit down and have a whole hour interview, and then social media can run with one thing.
Right.
Because you wasn't watching that interview to actually understand what that person was saying. You was watching it just to respond because you heard one thing. So that is powerful. Listening is so crucial because
it really is.
Oftentimes we don't listen.
Right.
Or we listen from the feeling or emotion that we're in. We listen from our perspective.
A very narrow perspective.
Allow us to even get a very narrow perspective.
Yeah.
And it's like almost as so we train our mind to shut down completely when someone says something that's outside of what we believe or think. So then we don't even allow ourselves the opportunity to grow. Because anything that's spoken about that's the opposite of how we look at things, we shut down. That's it. It's finished.
If any man, I'll put it this way, if any man add any words to this book that are not a part of this book, their soul shall be cast into the pits of hell, or we'll just take their asses out ourselves. Let me tell you, what you're saying is true on so many levels. That right there, as far as listening, this is literally why my bio, I lead with that I'm a professional listener. Like in life now, people know me for being a musician, for being an audio engineer, for being an entrepreneur, for being like a creative brand strategist. Like people know me for so many different things. The number one thing that's important to me in life now that I start every conversation with, or every bio, or every anything, is the first thing I list about myself is that I'm a professional listener. And because we live in this world, because I'm self-employed, I can control my own life. This is what I do. This, being a public figure is what I do. It's who I am, is what I do for a career. Because that is the case, I got the leverage to kind of lead with that. But it just the older.
It's cutting out. You're breaking out.
Okay, is that better? Let's see. Is that better? Am I back? Let's see. What about now? Is that better? Let me know if you can hear me. Is that better? Tani, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
FB, thanks for hanging with me. So,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I literally lead with that. Like the most important characteristic to me in life, about my personality in the midst of all the aspects of my character, is literally being a listener, a good listener. And I pride myself on it. So this expression here on Clubhouse, one of the things that I tell my But one of the things that I tell my accountability family for when we're, on the morning show, is that my whole reason for being in this space is really the same thing I was when I was 15. The same person I was when I was 15. I was 15, and I never forget, I was in the 10th grade, and my English teacher, his name was Mr. Ring. And hello to, let's see, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you so much for stopping by. I see last name is Adu. I believe I could pronounce that well. Olu Adu, if you go by that for sure. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm in my 10th grade English class, Mr. Ring, and Mr. Ring happened to be a teacher. I told my room this the other day. Mr. Ring happened to be a teacher where I really look at his class now as I call it now the empathy room, because at the time we felt it in experience, but it would be fast forward later on in life where I would realize the kind of environment that Mr. Ring created. So he was the kind of teacher where what you felt when you came in his class was, number one, love. You felt love from him because the way Mr. Ring would relate to you, he would speak to you. He may even ask about, how you're doing. He would take a second to connect with you. He never created an environment where it was just like, okay, come in, sit down, here's the work, do it. If you be good, we'll have a good, relationship and then go home. It was way more loving and nurturing. He showed us that he cared about us. He also showed us that he cared about the way we expressed and who we were individually. So he would give us time during our class period where it wouldn't be about the work. It would be about just relaxing and just vibing with each other, but still in like a way where, we didn't get like crazy out of hand. But he allowed everybody to be able to, vibe in who they were. So what it created was an environment where you love coming to Mr. Ring class. You did his work without a problem because it fed you. It wasn't just about what you could do for him. He cared about what he could do for you too, as far as expressing yourself. So long story short, one day I have my tape recorder, which now looks like my Bluetooth speaker that I'm sitting in front of. And I'm in this class, and for like at least about 30 to 45 minutes, I'm just talking to people. It's mainly girls that I'm talking to, where they're just sharing with me like their feelings about things, like maybe things they're going through or whatever. And I'm just being a listening ear. Like I'm just being there so that they could vent or have someone to just understand or be empathetic or whatever. And my group at the time, my rap group, we had an EP out, and our school supported it because we were real positive. So I had that playing in the background, and I was just talking, and they would be able to vent. And then I even got to the point where I started doing like hand massages, and it was just to relieve stress. And here's the thing: none of that at all was like to take advantage of them in any kind of way. Like it wasn't about that at all. It's just number one, enjoyed listening to people speak. Number two, I actually enjoyed being like a comfort or being a confident, the therapy that a person got just from being able to vent and get it out is what I started like really appreciating, and it resonated deep for me. So anyway, fast forward from there, like this person right here, in this moment is that same person. And it was literally because of how much I have a passion for listening, And that comes from my mom. I had to give credit to mom for that, because she's a 36-year school teacher, and I grew up in an environment where education and exposure was like real important. So she taught me why listening and learning was important, and then it just became something important for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, it's good to hear that, because for me it comes from my dad. My dad always taught us the power of listening. And I remember growing up, we had the Bible, we had the Quran, we had all of them in the house, because he said I remember saying, he said, there's a higher force. He said there's something bigger than us, but everyone looks at it differently, and respect how people look at it, because that's the way they look at it.
Wow.
So it was because although I'm a Christian, I will never say the Christian way is the only way. The other ways are wrong. No, because I grew up in a house with all of those in our house. We had all of them in the house. We went through all of them, and he said, in life you take what you need to take out of things, and you respect how other people live and how other people see things, even when you disagree with it. That is their way of thinking. That is how they see the world. That's how they choose to see the world. As long as people are doing things with love in their hearts, and they're not harming anyone, it's not your business to say your way is the right way. So that is, and that's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. And so when I'm having conversations, and people are like, yeah, but why are you not mad, or why are you not upset? I can't be mad. I can't be upset, because that you've grown up in an environment, and you've heard things and seen things different to me. So I can't expect you to all of a sudden switch and see how I see things, and that's also selfish to even expect me to see, for you to see things how I see things. I respect how you see things, but more crucially as well, me and my friend was talking about this yesterday, and I was saying, we've kind of come away as a society to look at things and to end things on, it's okay to agree to disagree. Like, agreeing to disagree does not have to end in fights and arguments and people being disrespectful. And I mean, even when I think I was so happy when I think Joe Biden, he touched on something like that in his speech. He was saying that every disagreement doesn't need to end in a war or a fight. We can disagree. That is one of the beauties of the human race, because we're all so different. So we can't expect everyone to agree with us. And I think from there it's powerful because then you also step into the realms of having self-acceptance. You then know that you're not for everyone, and everyone's not for you. If people don't like you, it's not necessarily down to you. It's just that you're not for that person, and that is okay, because you can't expect everyone to love and like you. And I remember my sister said something to me once. She said, if you was to give everyone in the world £100, it still wouldn't be enough. It just wouldn't be enough. It is impossible for everyone to like you. I mean, everyone doesn't even like Jesus, who people see as the savior of the world. So then, how can you expect everyone to like you? So it's again, and it comes back to perspective. I think the word is so underrated, because if more people realize that everyone has different perspectives, and everyone's looking at things differently, we can all look at the same picture, but we'll take different things out of it. We will all read the Bible, but we'll take different things out of it. It's human. It's the human nature. And I think it's beautiful, because we all have something to teach. We all have something to teach, all of us.
I'm gonna tell you, I literally call it the bouquet of life. It's the bouquet with different flowers. Like, it's so simple to me. This is why I'm like, it's so interesting how that is what it is. And it's literally just that simple. It's really what brings me to who I am, even as a secular humanist. It's like, this is a world where all it is just a living, breathing organism, where you have all these different things that are all what makes it the reality. Like, it's almost like if you look from a macro perspective and you're high up and you look at like a highway or something like that, and you see down on the ground, you might just be in one car. So you just see that one car and a few cars around you. But the higher you go up, the more you see not only the other cars, but you see them interweaving with each other. You see them going in different directions. And that's the thing. That's the organism. These are all different iterations. They're moving in different directions. They work together. Sometimes they clash. Sometimes they don't. They pass by together and do some amazing things and agree. Sometimes they just like whatever. That's what it is, And then from there, boom, is literally all that summed up into one word, which you said, acceptance. And then once you have that acceptance, then you move from there. And then it just allows for your whole experience to just be more clear and you know, better, so to speak, because then I can see other people. I can understand their perspective. I can also be okay with disagreeing where I disagree, agreeing where I agree, knowing, like you say, how far to take it, because, you know, there's a place, there's a healthy way of doing all those things. I'm able to appreciate myself more and my perspective and just be okay with it all, you know? So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And your kudos to your dad, because that's what I always look at. This is why I love hearing people's stories, because I always listen and I'm fascinated with that whole dynamic of life, the going through the maze, you know, going through the twists and turns to wind up at this point. And when I listen to people's stories, especially people who are positive thinkers, I love hearing their stories because I love listening and finding those places where that's how, you know, these things came together to make the positive person that I'm talking to, or looking at, and how all the events shape together, you know, the serendipity of it all. It's fascinating to me. So when I think about your dad, that's so powerful. I mean, to be able to say, look, there are going to be various opinions, you know, and some of them are good, some are not good. One of the biggest ways to determine things is, does it harm? You know, is it causing harm? If it's not, then here's where it may fall as far as categories. If it does, here's where it may fall. Like, he gave such a healthy perspective, you know, and I live my life on that perspective. And so that's why I can appreciate that so deeply.
Yeah, it was. My dad is like my hero. He's just full of wisdom. Like, he really is just full of wisdom, and he even led by his examples, because he works in a school where it's for boys who's been kicked out of their school. So they're all in there. They label them the children. But he's done that for my whole life, like for a whole life. So when it was like when it used to be summer holidays, we used to go down to those youth centres and we used to like help out. And driving back in the car, he just used to be like, you know, these children got from a really bad background, and this is why they are why they're here and why they are the way they are. Right. And actually, when I think about it now, while I'm actually telling you this, I think seeing that in reality actually contributed to how I have understanding of people, because although I grew up in a household that was stable, and it wasn't much confusion other than your normal, you know, family dynamic sometimes. But so, and I could easily, if I didn't see that sort of the other side to people who's not grown up in a probably stable household, and if I didn't have my dad to tell me that, I could easily be someone who would say, you know, just sort your life out. Why are you like that? And had that sort of attitude and judgmental attitude to people in that situation. Right. And I think that's why I'm so understanding of people when they do things, or they do act in a way that's not in line with how I act, because I think to myself, well, this might happen in that person's life, or they probably went through that. So it allows me to have a level of understanding, because I was aware from young that we are not all the same. We do not all grow up the same. We're not all coming from the same household. We're not all hearing the same words in our ears every day. We're not even all listening to the same movies, watching the same movies. Like, my dad made a conscious decision when growing up to expose us to a lot of Black movies where Black people was in a powerful position. Right. He intentionally done that, because now looking back, I actually see why. Because it was good to watch the movies about slavery and us being oppressed, but he also made us know that we are something. We are of power. We can be of power. So I never really grew up thinking, I'm Black, I can't excel, or I'm Black, I can't be in this position. I knew the forces that were against us, but I knew that I actually can be there, because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. So all these little things that he dropped in us when we were younger has actually contributed to how I am. But then I also realized not everyone had that, so you can't judge people for how they are or how they think, because we don't all have the same life journeys. So
there means so many angles right here. You know, one of the things that I could sum up Dad's approach in a real short phrase. Dad taught you wow, he taught you how to think, not what to think. You know, by giving
yes, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he taught, because when you take a child and when you do something like even a few of the activities you mentioned, when not only do you have a Bible, but you have a Quran, you have a Bhagavad Gita, you know, you have a Tao Te Ching, you have a Lao Tzu, you know, you have these different things together. And then you have a, you know, other, you know, when you look at people's conversations or their thoughts, and then Dad shares with you, okay, different people have thoughts. Here's how you categorize it. Look at the harm factor, look at the well-being, understand that different people come from different perspectives. And then what you just mentioned there, this last scenario, it continues to ring true for me, and why I am who I am, because my mom and your dad essentially opened us up in the same way by providing that foundation to give us the tools for this diversity in thinking that we have, and how we're able to see things from different perspectives and hold space and allow for space for different perspectives, and have deep empathy, you know, for others and for other scenarios in the world. As we look around us, it's that value, that exposure, that education, and teaching a child how to think for themselves and not what to think, giving them the tools so you can show. It's just so powerful. Like, wow, kudos to Dad, for real. Wow.
And your mom. I think that it's, and when I think about it now as well, because I don't know if it's the same for you, but growing up, I always felt like I didn't fit in everywhere. So there were some friendship groups that I would be in, and you just feel like you're an outsider because of how they think.
Right.
You know, when you're in school, you have the group of people sometimes is horrible to people, but you just can't understand why they're actually like that.
Right.
And then because most people are that way, you then tend to sometimes maybe think, you know, is it me?
Right.
Right. But I think that comes with I think that happens when you are someone who's able to look at things from a different perspective and have an understanding, because not everyone's able to do that. So sometimes you can feel in society that you're misplaced. You don't really have you don't really fit in. But then once you start having self-acceptance and you accept how you are and this is how I am, you then find the peace. So for me, it was a journey, because although I had the teaching of my dad, I did go through times where I felt out of place. But then you go on the journey to acceptance, and then now, I want to say, you know, in the past couple of years, I've accepted this is how I am, and I love this is how I am. But I also understand that, you know, that's not how everyone else is as well. It's a real journey. So
it really is.
It's
you know, oh man. So, you know, yesterday, one of the things that I said is, this is another one of my original quotes, which is that the destination is the journey. So it's interesting because what you just said, and here's another one, and this was just written yesterday when we were on the morning show, because a lot of these kind of ideas will just drop. It was like something like, I gotta go find it. I think I may have saved it in my phone. It was something like, my definition of perfection is process and progression. And and it's just this whole idea that basically what we're talking about, and like you said, when you go through, hey David, thanks for hanging out, brother. When you think about, like, okay, you go through life, you have your perspectives that are informed by your upbringing and your product of your environment. And then you look at other people being products of their environment, and you hear these different opinions, and ideas and suggestions and all these kind of things, you know, you always go through that process, and we always will in life go through that process of figuring out how to look at those ideas, where to classify them. Is it me? You know, is it something that I need to be open to and change with, or take heed to? Is it them? Is this something where, no, I'm the way that I think about things already is fine, and this isn't needed, or this perspective, or what have you? And it's always that dance, Tani, like, because that essentially is life. That is the process. And this is why I always say that the most valuable thing on the face of this earth is education, is exposure, and what we're talking about here, hearing other people's stories and perspectives, because those are the tools that allow you to walk the path of life and do that dance where you can figure out how to classify those things, because there's no manual to this. This is the figuring out. This is the process. You know what I mean? And it's going to be different for each person, you know, depending on their goals and the life that they're living or want to live. But it's such a fascinating thing, you know what I mean? But this is what it is.
Absolutely. Hi, David.
My good brother, David Pearl. Yes, sir. Come on up, bro. We just hanging out, bro, chopping it up. We're chopping it up right now. Oh, man, where do I start? Where Tani and I have gone down the path up, but we're chopping it up about a number of things that kind of came off of, you know, some quotes that we're sharing. First of all, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing all right.
Yes, sir.
I'm waiting for a violin. I should be getting one in the mail, and I'm on to new adventures.
Nice,
That's my
brother.
exciting. So yes,
love it, fam. Love it.
Yeah.
So, man, thanks for stopping by. I'll give you an idea what this is, and you know, we keep the conversation flowing along with you. So, this is Quote Lover's Delight, my concept. One of the other room concepts that I started here on Clubhouse, and basically the concept is that looks like I lost David. Maybe he might pop back in. But yeah, Tani, I'm wondering what you think about, you know, about that, because that the destination is literally the journey. This process we're talking about is always the unfolding. We will be, if we're healthy and if we're still healthy minded like this, Tani, when we reach our 60s and 70s, like, we'll still be doing the same thing. If we're healthy minded, we'll be thinking about all that we bring to that moment as far as how we feel and what we know and what we think we know and our opinions and everything. And hopefully we'll wake up the next day or look at the next scenario situation and say to ourselves, okay, even with all that I know, I'm not going to be attached to that. I'm going to, I'm going to consider this in the same way I've considered every other bit of information. I'll see, first of all, what the intention is. I'll listen to the information. If I need to research it a little bit more, I will. If I don't need to, I won't. If I decide in a moment that I don't feel like it, that's okay too. like if I want to pursue it, that's okay. It's like, it's all okay. Because what it is I'm an open-minded person who is always self-reflecting, always looking, you know, to knowing that I don't know everything, so open to learn. And that's just what it is. And that's why I never second guess myself, because when that's your intention, everything else works itself out, Tani. Everything else works itself out. Like, there's David. Hey, David. David, can you hear us? Or can you hear me? I know my connection looks like it's a little poor.
Oh, David's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Sweet.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's all good.
So I got cut out or something before.
No problem. So yeah, this whole experience is just about sharing a gem, sharing a favorite quote. Quotes are, you know, just one of my favorite things in life, because they are huge lessons in life packed in tiny little, you know, packages. So this last one that I shared, that Tani and I just kind of went down the rabbit hole, as they say, about was, this is my original quote: "How to become the wisest person you can be. Listen twice as much as you talk. Then before you talk, listen one more time. And we just went down a rabbit hole talking about, the power of being a listener, why it's so important. I told her it's why I lead in life with telling people first, like, about me, that I'm a listener. It's in my bio here. It's in my other bios elsewhere. It's the thing it's the thing I'm most proud of. And it's because I believe it's one of the biggest and deepest ways in life to not only learn and grow, but also know things and have wise things to say, or things that are helpful or practical, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, bro, that's where we are. And so if that sparks something in you, by all means.
Yeah, I think as a musician especially, it's our nature to want to, like, it's that constant dance of like, taking things in and putting things out there. And that's, from that perspective of listening, it's definitely a skill that's had to be developed over time.
Right.
But in life in general, there's a concept there's a kind of a Hasidic, like, Jewish, it's all over the place, but in like mysticism, there's a concept that the parable, it sounded like sort of what you're talking about, or a quote is packed with such a very concise quote is packed with a very deep, like, message, and the conciseness of it is, how that seed is planted, that's like the methodology of it. So there's that quote, and then there's the essence is within that quote, but there's a whole thing outside of it. So yeah, I don't know. That's what it sparked.
Yeah, 100%. Now, did you? I think I might have missed something just now. First of all, that everything you said just made a lot of sense to me. Especially in affirmation of what we're saying here. Did you just say though that there was a quote, within? I think you were getting ready to mention the quote. I might have missed it. You said it reminded you of a quote, and then, or a scripture or something like that. Or premise?
Yeah, not off the top of my head.
Got it. Okay.
A specific quote. But if something comes, I'll keep it open.
Okay, that's what's up, bro. So I was also telling Tani how, like, the person that I am today, even in this expression right here, is the person I've been since I was 15. It was about listening, and how much I learned and how much I've grown, and that comes from my mom being an educator and giving me education and exposure when I was young, which taught me the value of listening, especially to learn. And we were also talking about how listening and hearing different perspectives is the breeding ground for empathy. That's the thing that allows you to connect, being able to hear others' stories. So I'm gonna read a couple more of my original quotes, and then by all means, David, if one comes to your mind, by all means, please share. But I'm gonna read a couple more, and then we'll keep the convo going for a few more minutes. We're gonna probably hang out for another 15 or so. So here's another, and again, all my quotes are original quotes. So when you know better, you do better. We know that's not original, but I put it here. When you know better, you do better. And if you don't do better, you damn sure can't say it's because you didn't know better. No excuses, and don't give anyone else any. Be clear. Here's another one for you. And this one is a little bit of a longer writing, so it's not just a one quote. It's about 6 phrases. So this is about, and I'm painting it in a black and white perspective, like with extremes. So this is about both sides of the perspective of how to set emotional boundaries and how to be the most loving and caring and giving person you can be, while also taking care of yourself. So every time you hear me say the word "and" in the middle, that's in all caps in order to draw the stark black and white contrast. So be willing and open to help, and draw real boundaries and limitations. Be available to be of service. And don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of, not even the least bit. Be open to suggestions. And don't allow anyone to tell you or dictate what you're going to do or not do. Be kind and generous. And don't allow your kindness to be taken as weakness. Be fluid, open, and mutable, and solid as a rock, clear, focused, and intentional. The only way you can help another is to do what you can and not feel guilty about what you can't. And Tani, that completely echoes, what we were talking about earlier as far as pouring into yourself and knowing how to give yourself what you need while you give others. So that's another one of my favorite original quotes. And then here's a final one for you. And then I'm curious to either hear if that sparked any thoughts in you or if you have a quote to share. So my last one is just real simple. Awareness is the game changer. And that's it. Tani, does any of those spark anything for you? Any thoughts or any quotes that come to mind for you?
Yeah, so the line you said when you were saying be kind but have boundaries.
Yes.
I think it's help people, but don't allow your kindness to be taken for weakness. That I think there's a thin line, and I think a lot of the time the lines get blurred, especially for empaths, because you naturally you're someone who naturally want to help people, and it goes back to what I was saying before. Because you want to help people and because you want to be there for people, because that's genuinely how you are. Mm-hmm. The people like that, like myself, sometimes don't know where the boundaries is, and sometimes your kindness can be taken for weakness, especially when you are an understanding person. Everything someone does to you, you understand, not understanding because you deserve it, but you understand why their actions led to that. And a lot of the time, it's very difficult to put your boundaries in place because your natural nature is to give and to be there. And sometimes putting the boundaries in place, you are not able to give and be there. So it's kind of like your mind is like torn in between. It's like you're stuck in limbo or something. What you should be doing against how you actually feel, because you want to help, but I should not be doing that right now because I need to put my boundaries in place. So that is something that's something I've had to grow through on my journey. Knowing that being kind doesn't mean being taken advantage of. But then sometimes when you're a kind person, you don't even see sometimes that you're being taken advantage of, because
that's so true.
It's just your nature. Yeah, it's just your nature. So whereas everyone else can say, you need to stop it and you need to have boundaries, it's like, but it's just my nature to help. It's very difficult. Yeah, sorry.
I feel no. I'm going to interrupt you, but I feel like it strikes a chord in terms of like what you're saying with boundaries and how there's this. I think about it. If you reframe that, if you're a giving person and your nature is to give and be kind, or whatever word you want to use, to do kindness for others, there's just as much kindness, equally as much kindness in holding back from action and relating to others than there is from giving. Just another way to reframe it. So instead of thinking like, do I give or do I, not for boundaries? Like that is the sentiment of what boundaries is. That's just the way I frame it. So
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I'm telling you. So I actually put Brandon, thanks for hanging out, brother. I actually just put or I wanted to tell you all that on my Instagram profile, this particular quote that I just read, it's the fourth row down in my Instagram profile, and it's the middle picture. It's a quote. I mean, that part of that quote where I said, "Do what you can and don't feel guilty about or for what you can't." That's the quote, and I'm there. You see a piano in the background, and me with like a brown and burgundy shirt and jacket on, and the caption is actually everything I just read to you all. The be all those different phrases. So yeah, if you want to refer to that, it's there. Or if you need, I want to also just take a quick reset. Say hello to Brandon. Brandon, thanks so much for hanging out, brother. You're one of the brothers that I reached out to about emotional intelligence and that kind of thing. And my homie Marcellus, thanks so much for hanging out. This is quote Lovers Delight, and so the only or the agenda or the flow here is just being able to share one gem, whether it's a quote, whether it's a saying, whether it's a mantra, just something that really helps you on your way or helps you from day to day. Quotes are one of those things that come in, there's a lot of life in small packages. You learn so many big lessons in life in a very, very tight, small package. And so that's what I love about a good quote. So we've been chopping it up about everything from being a good listener to setting emotional boundaries and knowing what you can do and what you can't and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to continue on for a little bit more, and I'm going to share a few more of my original quotes. By all means, Brandon and the homie, the man, if you'd like to come up to the stage, by all means, you can raise your hand. And if not, you just want to hang out and listen in, by all means, thank you so much. All right, so here's a few more for you. All right, so sometimes the biggest thing that you can pay someone is attention. Sometimes the biggest thing you can pay someone is attention. Here's another one for you. Number one way to become highly intelligent and well-rounded. Listen to and have conversations with highly intelligent, well-rounded people from different walks of life with different experiences. Tiny, that so echoes what we were talking about earlier. Here's another one I wrote for you. Here you go. Correct a fool and they will hate and despise you. Correct a wise person and they will love and appreciate you. Take note of who you correct so that you can see if it's worth the energy. And then last but not least, and this is my own personal quote to myself, wrote it for everyone else too as well. I'm going to give my way to success. And so on that tip, once again, I just want to say thanks to everyone for hanging out. We're going to hang out for a few more minutes, maybe about 10 more minutes or so. And so we want to say hello to Brandon. Brandon, thanks so much for stopping by, bro. How you doing today? Brandon, can you hear me, brother? if you're there, bro, how you doing today?
Hey, is that my phone that's breaking up, or is that yours? Because you were very choppy. I just want to. Is everybody else experiencing? Okay.
Yeah, I was experiencing this area. Yeah, you was breaking up. It was breaking up a lot.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm not sure, as they say, what the last thing you all heard me say was. Did you all hear? So I
didn't hear you talking to me. Did you? What did you say to me?
Got you. My apologies, bro. I was just saying.
Breaking up again.
Okay. All right. Hold on one sec. Let's see. All right. Give me 1 second, everybody. Let me see if I can correct my signal. Hold on 1 second. All right. Let's try that. Is that better? Let's see if that might be a little better. All right, let me know if you can hear me, Brandon. Digital Jeff, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
sweet.
I can hear you. I think it's good to go.
Okay.
At this point.
Sweet, bro. Well, thank you. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, so I was just saying, I read a few quotes and I was just saying, thank you so much for stopping by. And Digital Jeff, thank you so much for stopping by as well. By all means, if you'd like to come up to the stage, we're just hanging out for just dropping a few quotes, things that just kind of help you on your day, things that are sayings that help you. And so, yeah, Brandon, we were having a great conversation in here. And I just read a few, and yeah, the only goal is to just share something that helps. So since it's just you and I hanging out, bro, well, first I don't know if you heard me say that it was nice to meet you. I know that I reached out to you the other day, and around emotional intelligence, and I just want to say it's a pleasure to meet you, man. And thanks so much for responding to the message, man. I love connecting with people that are connected to positive things like emotional intelligence and accountability and some of these other things. So it was just me in tribe finding mode. So it's nice to meet you, bro.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's always nice to connect. And if you ever want to dig in or dive in, let's do it. I mean, I've been in the emotional intelligence space for about 4 years, and I've never looked back since I discovered it. So
right.
It's been it's literally changed the path of my life, and helped me discover that I'm here for humble service. I'm here to be in contribution. I'm here to support others and lift all boats. I'm here to be the tide. I'm here to be the tide and not another boat on the surface.
I love it.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's what just really lights me up. That's what gets me on fire every single day. And so, if I can be in contribution to you in any way, let's figure out how that looks and make
100. 100, bro. 100. Appreciate it. I see you're in Richmond, VA. I'm here in Maryland. I'm here in Baltimore, Maryland, by the way. And yeah, I'm looking at your IG. Yeah, it's such a pleasure, man. And definitely, one of the things. So I do a morning show here. I'm here every day on Clubhouse in some shape, form, or fashion. And one of the main things that I do is I'm here every morning, Monday through Friday, for my show called the AP Morning Show, which is basically around accountability partners. And I've been doing it for about a month now here. I pretty much came here to Clubhouse to do the same thing that I've done on, all other platforms, build and find my tribe, pour in, and just be that person, in various ways. I'm a musician. I'm also a producer and engineer. I'm a creative brand strategist. I'm into just a number of different things with entrepreneurship and all kinds of stuff. So I just try to show up in as many places as I can, connecting in that way and building tribe. So yeah, as I got here, in looking at the few things that I'm here for, like around accountability and emotional intelligence and that kind of thing, this morning show has unfolded. And so from there, it's the beginning of building my tribe here. And so I was like, yeah, I want to do an emotional intelligence conference this spring. It's one of the things I would love to bring to this platform because, again, I'm already doing it every day. And by the time the spring comes, not only will there be, a number of people that are from the perspective of listening and, tuning in to continually learn, but also people that are either professionals in the field or they just are people who, really understand these topics and, are able to share about it. So it's a pleasure to meet you on that tip. I'm definitely going to be starting to form that together and even just reach out and have some communication. So you can definitely look out for that, as one thing. And other than that, I'm here every day, man, as a fool, as an understanding guy, as a silly guy, as a conversationalist. You can catch me here every day, just having fun, chopping it up with good people about positive things.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest things for me, I hate the word coach. Honestly, I don't really like the word coach.
Yeah.
In my bio, I have emotional intelligence and leadership coach.
Yeah.
But what that looks like more in my field is more of a facilitator. I am a facilitator of breakthrough. Right. I am very curious about people's, what's holding them back, what their strengths are, so we can double down on those and kind of break through and implement new tools in regards to what isn't working for people.
Right.
And, the word coach is so watered down just because there's so many coaches in this space. And, that in general, everybody's a coach. Everybody wants to be a coach of something. But I want to be a facilitator because when I'm a facilitator, I'm taking responsibility for someone else to discover. Mm-hmm. And when they can discover and take responsibility for whatever that thing is, whether it's working or not working, that's when they can actually cause a result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it, man. I'm in school for psychotherapy, and they you know, they call it like being the tour guide as opposed to like, you know, the person that's the dictator. You know, you're taking a different position so that you can invite people into the experience in a different way, you know. And a facilitator reminds me a whole lot of what it is to be a producer, you know, to be the person that is about putting the elements or the right scenarios, the right elements together so that the magic can happen from there, you know. And we talked about it earlier in different forms, even teaching people how to think instead of what to think, you know, just and on and on and on, you know, down that path. So I definitely feel you on that, bro. And yeah, and I feel you even on the difference between the name, because one of the things, and this is an original quote from mine. In fact, if I have a quote mug series that I just released, and this will be the next one. And it's that you don't have to be qualified in order to share your experience, you know. And just kind of, you know, when it comes to words like expert and coach and all these things, like honestly, all of that stuff you could throw to the side for me, you know, because you can be someone who is expert in experience. You can have you know, academic education, you know, left brain, and you got your right brain, your experience, you know, and your firsthand life experience. So to me, the inviting approach, the facilitator approach, the tour guide approach, to me, I couldn't high five you more on that, bro. Like that's what I like love and support all day, because I think that is a better way of being able to, you know, invite people into these spaces, you know, to get these things or to find them within themselves and on their own journey. So I couldn't agree with you more, Brandon.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that quote, you know, because everybody's experience matters no matter where they are in life. And
right.
It doesn't matter what you say to someone, it matters what they hear you say. And so communication is so important. And communication is, you know, it's nonverbal. There's a lot of different forms of communication, but communication is so important, especially when you are the facilitator of someone. And in my experience, it's the facilitator of someone's breakthrough.
Right.
Because they could interpret it totally different way based on a past experience, and it could create the opposite result of what you are actually intending to create if you aren't communicating effectively. So 100%. It's something to definitely look at.
100%.
Yeah, I actually like that. It's something that my dad always says. He says it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
Because you can say something, and so even in terms of you can put your opinion across, but most of the time people's reaction is not based solely on your opinion, it's how you said it. Because you can say it's how it's trigged in their mind. So like for some people, especially on social media, I see, you know, people say, oh, you know, you need to pick the sense out of the madness. And my thing is, if you're going to communicate something, try and communicate it the best way you can, because the whole point of communicating is to get someone to understand. So if you're going to say something that's going to rub someone the wrong way, then you failed in your communication, because there's so many ways to express ourselves and to say things to someone without them getting upset about it. It's just, so yeah, like, I always go back to that.
Right. 100%. You know, it's interesting. I love the dynamic of conversation. I love the dynamic of conversation. I also want to say, hey, Dalia, how are you doing today? If you'd like to come on up to the stage, you can. And we're just chopping it up about a few things in this experience. And if not, by all means, thanks for stopping by. You know, I love this thing because we're talking about dance. We're talking about communication. We're talking about communication styles. I did a room here recently with my good brother, Matthew George, and it was about communication styles. And we're talking about analytical versus functional versus intuitive versus personal communicator. And, you know, the more you learn about these things, the more you realize how much goes into the dynamic of conversation and intention and tone, you know. And one of my absolute shortest quotes is literally just that: tone is everything. You can't control, you know, there's a whole, you know, it's a gradient, you know, it's not black or white. Like you can't control exactly how a person will feel or respond to something, but you can control your approach in many ways. And a lot of times that is the thing that allows you to control or to help to control the way that things go. And so, when I think about that, it really rings deeply for me, because it really is just that. I wrote this on September 30th, 2020. I said, just a reminder, it still isn't what you say, or let me put it this way, because this is the better way I think to say it. It still isn't just what you say, but also how you say what you say. See, because sometimes it can be what you say, but it isn't just what you say, but how you say what you say. Tone is everything. Don't blame others for misunderstanding you when your tone is off. Your tone shows how you really feel, not solely your words. Be mindful. And I wrote another one the other day that was just kind of like, let me see if I can kick it off the top of my head. Hey, Dinara, thanks for hanging out. I think it was something to the extent of, how we say actions speak louder than words. So I said intentions speak louder than words, and those intentions show up in your actions and inactions. Of course, there's a flow to everything, so there's a lot of different ways it can go. But what I was thinking about specifically is that, again, just going back to the source, your tone, your intentions, how you come across has a whole lot to do with how a person receives it. Not saying it has everything, because sometimes you can come off the best way possible and a person can just be dealing with their shit and in a funk. But you still contribute a whole lot to the equation by your tone and by your intentions and how you come off. Tani.
I also think as well, it's about understanding people. So like in my life, it's people around me in my life, I know I have to communicate with some people a certain way based on how they receive things.
That's it.
So, for example, my two nephews. One of my nephews. I know if I'm communicating with him, I have to make sure that I get him. If he's done something wrong, I have to first make him understand why I'm speaking to him about it,
right.
And then I can say what he done. Whereas my other nephew, I can say, you done this,
right,
but we need to fix it and do it this way.
Right.
And that's based on how they receive things, because we all receive things differently.
Yeah.
And different things trigger us.
Yeah.
So as well as our tone, it's also having understanding of people. You can have 10 people in the room, you can say one thing, but they all receive it differently. So especially, I think it's so important when building friendships, relationships, work colleagues, when you're building those relationships in your life, it's always good to have an understanding of how people receive things. And it helps you grow as well, knowing that how I express myself or say something, don't be so closed up and thinking that's the only way, because it might be received well to A and B, but it might not be received well to C and D. And that's not a problem with them. That's just it. I just need to change how I communicate with them so that they can receive it how I intended it to be received.
It's in psychotherapy, there's this concept of attunement, and it's exactly that. And it goes really deep with attuning yourself to not only a person and how they're communicating, but also how they communicate. Period. Everything from your tone to your gestures to how you word things to what their experience is, what triggers them, what doesn't trigger them, what works for them as far as the style of communication. My son is he is very, very much an intuitive communicator. He's a bottom line person. I'm a personal communicator. He's very much just an intuitive, not just an intuitive, but he's very much an intuitive. Is it intuitive? He's also analytical. So what winds up happening is my communication style is to take my time and to unpack. His is never to do that. So if I want to get something across to him, it doesn't matter how good my information is or how good it is what I have to say. If I come off as a personal communicator and I start giving backstory, if I go too deep, I'll lose him. immediately. That's not the kind of communicator he is. Now, like you said, Tani, I still needed him to know, as he was growing up, I still needed him to know why I was having this conversation. I needed to lead up to, even the climax of like what I needed to get across or what he needed to shift or change or whatever. But if I took too long in the details, done, he was gone. Whereas though my daughter is exactly the opposite. My daughter she needs more so personal communication. For her, the emotional part matters. The data matters less. So it's literally that. It's like you said, and even with the triggering piece, even knowing what would trigger my son or make him tune out, what would trigger him to tune out, versus if I just flip the complete script, what would trigger my daughter to turn on and to listen in more closely, or my son to listen in more closely. So it's all these things, and that's why I love having conversations. It's why I love listening. It's why I love studying psychology. It's why I love studying psychotherapy. It's why I love studying emotional intelligence and just all these things, because it boils down to the psychology of what makes us tick. And I'm fascinated with that, and I'm fascinated with all the ways, the efficient, the intelligent, and the affluent ways that we learn these things in order to communicate with each other better and just have the best communication experiences we can have, which never have to do with agreeing on everything. It's just knowing how to be able to discuss and converse about everything. And on that tip, yes, Brandon, go ahead.
I just want to say, communication and in everything, every choice you make is from fear or love, in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so fear is learned through your experiences, through your relationships, through fill in the blank as you go through this thing we call life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not born with fear. And so being very clear where your intention is coming from, as you were talking about, if you can set the intention of coming from love in every aspect, and you can lead with compassion. And even if something triggers you, you can give compassion in those moments. And in sense, you'd be leading with love in that sense. And so you'd be in contribution as opposed to leading with a fear-based conversation based on a past experience.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you on that. I'm one of those kind of people that I think about fear from the perspective of healthy fear and debilitating fear. Healthy fear is, when you go way, way back, if you heard a rustle in the bushes, it was that fear or that sense of adrenaline rush, that thing that put our bodies into motion that would allow us to save us, or to get the baby out of the way of the car, and that kind of thing. But then you have the unrealistic and you have the debilitating fear, like how you're talking about, where you're leading into a conversation and you're coming from a place of fear where you don't need to. Maybe it's a pre-learned condition from a past experience where you were in survival mode. And so you had to be that way in order for you to get your point across, or in order to be heard, or you were traumatized, you were abused, these kind of things. And that kind of debilitating fear is the kind that really, like, I think, just does such a number on us. And so, like you said, coming from that place of love, having that other perspective, it really is what makes the difference, in a lot of these situations where we literally need to fear not, because our life is not actually on the line at that time. And when it is, then the fear will kick us into gear to fight or flight when it makes sense and when it's right. But not in these damn comments. I tell you, it leads me to one last thing, and then I'm, want to chop it up, say hello to Dinara, Brandon, if you have anything else to add, and Tani, by all means. Is interesting, because my philosophy, especially with how much I look at psychology from so many different perspectives, it's like my deepest philosophy is the way that you change a human being's like mind as far as how they deal with things, whether they're coming from a place of fear or love, is to continue to give them the contrast of what they were used to experiencing. We, in many ways, because of these things that are just a part of our DNA, what happens is the way that you survive is to develop certain traits that allow you to survive in whatever scenario situation you're in. So if you need to be paranoid all the time because your life really is at risk, then that actually is a healthy thing. But when you're in a place where your life is not at risk and you're still like, glitching and you're still paranoid and you're still impulsive, that shit is terrible. That shit is like, it doesn't help you. It helps you in the jungle. It doesn't help you, in your home sometimes. So, when I think about that, I said to someone about maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, I realized, and this was someone I was in relationship with closely, and I was like, there are certain things that we're doing that's a part of the previous relationships that we were in, that they served us then because it was the way for us to survive there. Like until we got out, it was how we survived. But now they do not serve us anymore. So I realized all we have to do is keep giving each other the opposite experience of what we used to get. And over time, what will happen is, yes, we'll still approach this thing, still be triggered in certain ways. We'll still have these same habits. But when you keep having those habits, but you no longer need those in that situation, or a person's not blocking you, they're not making you defensive, like all these things, then it just naturally shifts and changes. This is rehabilitation. It just naturally shifts and changes when you put the human being in the right environment and give them the contrast from what struck up that fear or what made them go into survival mode to survive. They no longer need to do that. So that's why I love not only holding space, whether it's in conversation or whether it's playing music or whether it's like whatever, it's all about giving, or whether it's even listening to a person, it's all about giving them the opposite response from what they're used to getting. So that way, naturally, their neural pathways are blazed differently. Naturally, these things that used to be triggered aren't triggered, and other things are triggered. Positive things are triggered, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I can go on and on about that, but, Dianara, hey, first of all, hey, how you doing today?
Hi.
What
Hi,
up?
everyone.
What's happening? What's happening?
Nothing much. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Hi. So we're here trying to get a science project for a science fair tomorrow, but I said, let me just jump in Aaron's room.
Yes,
for a minute.
No doubt. With everything we're sharing here, is there anything that it sparked in you?
Well, you guys were talking about fear, and that's why I came to the stage. And it's funny because today I was talking to my niece, but my niece is like my age, So they went to Florida for the week, and she hasn't left her house. Like, she's so fearful of leaving and was scared to leave, and she left. And then coming in, she did one of those rapid tests, and she tested positive for COVID, right? But I was just thinking about fear, like the whole time she's been fearful, and sometimes we allow other people's fears to be bestowed upon us. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to happen. She probably, tested COVID. That's just what the destiny was, right? That was going to happen. But when we, how can I say this? When we walk in a spirit of fear, it's like we attract it. You know what I mean? When we're fearful, or doubtful, or negative, have you ever noticed that when you're negative, when you're like, oh, that's not going to happen, or that's not going to work out for me, or, I'll never get that, right? Or that will never happen to me. Like, I'm not that lucky. You're just putting it out there, and you're attracting it like a magnet. Or even like dating, like, or, watch this person be just like the other person, it's a spirit of negativity brings negativity. And it's funny because this same niece had a situation where, she had some procedures done, and she was probably internally fearful. And before she went and had the procedures, I was like, are you scared? She was like, a little bit, kind of. I was like, well, don't be, don't be. So she was scared, and then something went wrong, I don't know. Fear is not cool. It's not good for us.
Yeah, I apologize for any background noise. I'm actually on the treadmill at the gym right now, but I couldn't leave this conversation. So,
get it in, bro. Let's get it in. We love it. We love it.
I love what you shared, because, anytime you focus on whatever you focus on, you attract exactly what you said. So when you put all of your energy into fear, you get more fear-based conversations. You get more things to be scared of. You attract that negativity. When you focus on love, and you focus on what is working in your life, then you get more of what is working. And so if you can just be grateful for what you do have as opposed to what you don't have, as opposed to focusing on what you don't have, then you will attract more to be grateful for.
Yes.
I absolutely agree with that. I live by that as well. And it's something, I don't know if everyone's watched The Secret.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they say as well. Because if you focus on the fear and the negative, you will go through your day picking up on little things that will trigger fear and negativity in you.
Mm-hmm.
If you go through your day thinking positively and with love, you will see all the love in the world and you will see all the positivity in the world. So it's like when people sometimes say to me, but we'll be you can have two people in the same situation and someone will say, did you see that? Did you hear that? And I'm like, no, because I don't see the negativity, what's going on. I just see, if I'm in a room, I'm looking at the positive, people smiling, people with love in their heart. So the one person who might be doing something negatively, I don't see that because my mind is not focused on that. So I completely agree with that because, and that's how we attract people around us who have love, who have positivity, and we attract those positive situations. Because that's what we're putting out into the earth. Right. And I guess it's also, and that's why I say sometimes science and religion, they're both intertwined because it's all about believing. What you believe comes true. If you believe you're going to walk outside and something's going to happen, you're going to be in a situation, maybe not where something happens, but you're going to pick up on the negatives outside or something that annoys you. If you leave your house believing that some good's going to come in your day, that good might just come from someone smiling at you in the supermarket, which you may have missed if you was, thinking about fear. So all these things work together. It's what we believe. What we believe, whether you look at it from science or religion, is true because it will come about because you believe it. You plant that inside of you, and then your mind would.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, go.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I love it, and I so agree with you. And then shit happens, and the beautiful part about what we're saying here is like, then when it does happen, when you have a positive perspective, then it allows you to be able to accept it or deal with it a whole lot better than if you're coming from a fear-based perspective. It's one of those things that I love about it. Like, it's not like positive mindedness like makes it where the only thing happens to you are good things. But what happens is when the not so good things happen, like we're saying here, and Tani, oh my gosh, for everybody who was here, we were chopping it up about this, myself and Tani earlier. But it's just like, wow, when you have this perspective, then what it does is it allows you a different lens. You're able to put on different glasses and see the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. You're able to pull out of scenarios and situations what you want to see. And that's why it's so true. It's so true. Perspective is everything. OMG.
Yeah, I just want to add something real quick. We have an unbelievable talent as humans to find whatever it is we're looking for.
Yep.
And so,
pattern seekers.
If you're looking around the room, you're in right now, and you're looking for the color red, find something with the color red. Mm-hmm. Everybody got it?
Holding it right in my hand.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, how many things did you see in the room that were the color green?
0.
Exactly. Because you were looking for red.
That's it.
So you will find what you're looking for. You just have to be intentional about looking for it.
I call it the library effect. Thanks for that, Brandon. I call it the library effect. I'm looking at a bookshelf right now, and if you go to the library and you're looking for a book on aeroscience, you'll find it. Right next to it might be a book about travel or a book about like nature, and you might not see that, and it'll be literally right there, but you may not see it, and it's just because of the fact that you're not looking for it. You may come right back in and say, hey, do you all have any books about nature? And they'll go right there, and you're like, wow, that's been there the whole time. Yep. Because when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear, and that's the beautiful thing about this. And that's why I love this concept of healthy mindedness. I love this concept of perspective and being able to just look at things and realize that you get out of it what you look for in it. And so
I think it's also important to remember that I tell my clients, I think sometimes people look at positive, like being positive is too much. And I always say that being positive doesn't mean you're always happy. It just means that even when you are going through some downtime in your life, you're able to see the positive. You're able to see the good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're still able to be grateful. It's not about, you know, just always being high and fly on life. It's like, okay, I might be going through something in my life, but I'm still able to see the positives. I'm still able to be grateful, and I'm able to know that just like everything else that happens in life, you will get through it and you will overcome it. And it's those lot of things in life that helps us through, you know, going through things of love, you know, always looking at things from a positive outlook. Mm-hmm. And it's powerful because you can have two people who go through the same situation but react differently. And it's all about your response, how you respond to things. Because like we all know, we can't always control what happens to us. We can just control how we respond to it. And it's our response that determines whether we stay in something or we move through it. It's all down to how we look at things. So if you're looking at, for me personally, whenever I go through anything in my life, I always just think to myself, there must be a lesson in this somewhere. Like, I might not understand what the lesson is, but there must be a lesson somewhere. But I'm just going to still proceed because I'm grateful for A, B, or C, what's happening in my life. Mm-hmm. And slowly, what's the situation, it either figures itself out, or you don't think about it anymore because your mind is focused on all the good things that's happening in your life and the things that are working.
So I just, you know, this is why I have so much empathy for the other side of the coin, you know, because one of the things, so I'm a person that believes in being positive, you know, and not allowing it to, or being positive to the point of naivete. And I say that because I'm one of the most positive people in the world. And I think that the beautiful thing about positivity is, like you said, it always gives you something that you look for. And in the way I see it, you know, you define your purpose, and the purpose, it isn't predetermined. So I believe we inject into things what we want to get out of it, which is what reaffirms what we're saying here today. Because if you want to look at the glass as half empty, it will be half empty. If you want to look at it as half full, it'll be half full. And then that is even informed by what's molded and shaped you, you know, and that kind of thing. And so some things we're in control of, some things we're not. But the most important thing is to keep an open mind and keep having the conversations so that we can learn and we can grow. On that tip, I also want to say, once again, hello to Dalia, Auntie Gina, Truth for Life, and Trish. We're wrapping up this experience in the next couple minutes. But this is Quote Love is Delight. The goal is to share a favorite quote of yours that helps you. That's a mantra. It could be a saying or what have you. And then for us to be on our way. So I'm going to share a couple more, and we'll wrap up this experience. So these are all originals, the one that I share, and they're a part of a couple things. Number one, Aaron Hill sentiments. If you have the opportunity right now, even as we're hanging out, if you go to my Instagram bio, if you click the top link, it says the new revealing mug from Aaron Hill. And this is the first of this, as well as a couple other things you'll see there, is the first of the Aaron Hill Sentiments series. It's just my quotes and my sayings on different things that help you in life. And so, one of those things I released the other day was a revealing mug with a message on it about acceptance. But you won't see the message until you pour in beverage of choice, and then the magic happens. Also have there the Mom and I pillow. The Mom and I pillow, which is just a message with my mom. This was when we were outside for my Street Serenade series. I've done 110 concerts outside since COVID started, since May 29th, around the DMV area. And this is one time when my mom and I were out. My mom has gotten into, she went from coloring in March, just buying an adult coloring book, to just buy, not buy some time, but to, I won't say kill some time, but make use of the time. And it turned into an art journey where she would make over 500 pieces and be all around the city selling them and bringing light to people's faces. And then on the other side of the pillow is yours truly playing the piano. I'm talking to the people there, and there's a message about relationships. And then last but not least, there's a canvas, the beginning of the Aaron Hill canvas series there. So yeah, check that out. And these are, again, a few of the quotes that you'll see on those and other things. You might not know the future, but your subconscious mind does, which is half of who you are. Here's another one. You can't induce real change by quote unquote playing it safe. Here's another one. Things never go back to quote unquote normal. They always move forward to a new normal. It's called evolution. Last one. Strive for where you want to be. Appreciate where you are. And don't stress about where you aren't. Be easy. Strive for where you want to be. Appreciate where you are. And don't stress about where you aren't. It's almost like the Serenity Prayer vibe. It's almost like, being able to see the things that you can change, see the things that you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This allows you to accept yourself on all sides. Strive for where you want to be always, but appreciate where you are and don't stress about where you aren't. Be easy. And so on that tip, I just want to say once again, thank you for hanging out, Quote Lovers Delight. This is every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm also here every single day on Clubhouse, every morning. I have Monday through Friday. We're here for the AP morning show, which is AP stands for Accountability Partners, as well as my first and middle name, which is Aaron Prentice. But myself, join me, LT, and the rest of the Accountability family Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for some good laughs, some great conversations, and even greater affirmations. All just to wake your ass up and to help you on your way to a productive day. And then tomorrow, this is every Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I host an experience here called the 5M Fellowship. And that's music, movement, meditation, mindfulness, and mantra. It's a sharing and open dialogue experience. We hang out, I play the piano for a bit, chop it up about a self-care topic, and then we all dive in, do a little bit of meditation, all these kind of things. It's great. Every Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So on that tip, I thank you all so much for hanging out. If you appreciate this or any other of my Clubhouse experiences, you want to help me to host or hold these spaces, look at the info that you see in my bio. Have an amazing rest of the day, everyone, on purpose. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Turn your notifications on. Promise you I don't bug you. I don't do a whole lot. But what I do is meaningful. Take care, everybody. Much love. Peace. Take care. See you later, Dianara. Have a good one. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Take care now. Everybody on FB and YT YouTube, thanks again for hanging out as always. So AC Crandall says, can you write down the and quote? And I did it in silence, but I'll do it again here. I was explaining that I have it on my Instagram profile. If you go to my Instagram profile, I'm at Aaron Hill TV. If you look down to the the fourth row, there's a quote that says, do what you can and don't feel guilty for what you can't. And the caption of that is the quote that you're mentioning. Or not the quote, but the writing. So thanks so much. And thanks for hanging out, Robin. Thanks for hanging out, AC Crandall. Thanks for hanging out, Mike Moe. Thanks for hanging out, everybody who's on the replay, by all means. And drop your favorite quotes as well. Robin says, my first experience, and this was talking about something that Tani and I were talking about in the earlier part of the experience. Robin says, my first experience with that was I've lived through a lot of trauma and mentioned part of it to a friend, and she was horrified. She'd been so sheltered that she had no idea those things really happened. I damaged her, but something I lived through and was over completely upset her. Our perspectives about life were so different due to life experience. Yeah. And see, I can understand what you're saying. Essentially what you're saying, Robin, is that once you expressed and once you shared with her, that's when you realized that it was actually more harmful to her than good to hear that, because your life experiences were so different. Yeah, I feel you on that. It's something that, you only are able to just live and learn by trial and error. It's just one of those things. You learn how to take this lesson, and then when you move forward, you think about like, okay, got to do this differently. This is how I know how to approach that situation, but you had to first go through it in order to learn it, So yeah, I've had a few situations like that too, and where I've had to go back and mend some things, and I've been kind of fortunate that I've been able to do that, and I haven't had too many places where I've caused too much damage or triggers. So on that tip, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Again, quote, love is the light, and spread some love, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.